Hey, how's it going, everybody? I apologize. My video recording is lagging a little bit. I've been trying to fix it, but I have a limited amount of time to shoot this video, so I believe the audio is coming through clear. If you have any other issues with the stream, let me know. But I'm just going to try to get the information across, which I think is the most important part. Anyway, as I mentioned last week, I am doing this video series to document my coaching process and also my contest prep. So I'm going to try to do this regularly, if not at least semi-regularly, and just kind of show you what I'm doing. So anyway, let's go first things first. Thing I look at every day, weight average. So, I mean, you can see this chart right here. Nice little spike on the weight loss there. And coming down here to this week, looks like I lost around 4.31 pounds. And at 255 pounds times a rate of loss of 0.5, so 5%, 12.75 pounds over 3 weeks. That's 4.25. So just on mark there perfectly. Now, my weight didn't move a whole lot if you look at like Sunday to Sunday or Monday to Monday. But it's hard to say. I have less variables affecting my water weight as I am managing my water retention a lot better lately. And I believe telmisartan has a huge reason to do with the fact that not a lot of water weight got shed. I haven't gone back and looked at my last mini cut. I know I did lose more weight, but I believe that the deficit was about as aggressive as well. So hard to say, but I am looking tighter based off my pictures. So this is one variable I'm looking at, more on average, 4 pounds down. I was weighing about 254 on average here. Now I'm about 249 on average here. The goal by the end of this, I would say, is probably around somewhere around 240 pounds. Which I think I can achieve. 242, 240 would probably be pretty good for the end of this mini cut. So, going over to the data collection, weight average here, steps were down by like 500. Not something I'm too concerned about on average, but I definitely could try to keep that up this week. Part of it is just by my job. Like I hit 10,000 on my days off, and then, I hit what I hit at work. So it's kind of tough there. As I mentioned in the last video, last week, I thought there was a leak in my CPAP. Sure enough, I got a new mask, and my blood pressure is normal, if not, really good, with that diastolic number really low, meaning my heart is able to relax. Fasting heart rate varies, but still in a good place. Fasting blood glucose is actually really low, and I will talk about why that is when I get to my farm panel over here. My compliance was fairly high. My hunger was high, but again, I did something that I think helped manage that. Sleep. This is how my phone tracks my sleep. But I was in bed for 8 hours at least. And life stress was lower, and joint stress is lower as well, as I am doing very low volume training right now. So, reason why my blood glucose was probably pretty low was I added in 500 milligrams of metformin midway through last week. One of the reasons being, it's not a drug I prefer personally. I think the mechanism of action, at least with the information that I've been presented, as far as wasting carbohydrates, is not something you want as a performance athlete. You want to be utilizing your carbohydrates, so you would probably want to manage that some other ways, i.e., high daily activity level and managing postprandial glucose by going for a walk. There is a study that shows that going for a walk after a meal is 3 times more effective than this drug specifically. Now, I do believe it has a context for deployment in bodybuilding, and I just haven't seen a need for it. I would probably prefer to deploy Atlantis, which helps you utilize the nutrients better than using a metformin. And I see another one of those medications where everybody's just like, blanket statement, everybody needs to use this medication. Not the case. You need to assess the need for it. Now, the reason I deployed it here is we're trying to resensitize many anabolic pathways. insulin being one of them. And I just figured something like a metformin would help resensitize those pathways so that when I reintroduce a large volume of carbohydrates, that that pathway would be very sensitive and hopefully, create some more anabolism. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was a smart decision, and I deployed it, and we'll see what the outcome is. That's probably why my blood glucose was so low. I already have pretty good glucose control, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use this medication. I have a fasting insulin of like 2 to 3 year round, even in deep in a mass. Last time I tested, 800 to 1,000 grams of carbohydrates, I had an insulin of 2. And insulin is a really good indicator of what's going on in the background. Your glucose could be in control, but a lot of people don't test their insulin, and your insulin could be high with your glucose in control, meaning your pancreas is putting out more insulin to be able to manage your glucose, which means that there may be something wrong, and that could lead to diabetes and other disorders. So anyway, that's what I deployed this week. I also pulled labs. I was going to discuss them this week, but unfortunately, they've just been taking a lot longer since COVID. So one other thing I decided to, to do is I brought my cycle down, and another thing I was on the fence about, but I just figured resynthesize the pathways. There were two like viewpoints that I had here that I was thinking and playing around with. One was that I only have a limited amount of time to mass, so stay at the higher amounts, especially because the amount of clearance time for these drugs, it's not going to be fully cleared by the time I get back into a mass out of my system. And the amount of time it takes to build up in your system as well. I wanted to get into that mass and utilize these. But what I'm thinking about doing is I have NPP on hand. So what I will do is come out of the gate back into my blast level dosage, 500, so 1,000 to 1,250, somewhere around there. And I'll come in with an NPP, which will act very quickly. And then that'll be working as those other compounds have time to kind of accumulate in the background so that I'm getting the most out of them pretty quickly and can end this mass, utilizing the most amount of gear with the least side effects, and this phase allowing me to resensitize to those. And that's why I'm not going down to a full small amount, because like a full HRT or whatever, 250 milligrams is what I would use, because the relative drop or the relative increase that I'm going to have to make, both of those. So like say I would be going from 1,000 down to 250 and then 250 back up to 1,000 to 1,200. I think that's just a lot of fluctuation for a short period of time and can definitely skew your lab markers, have some deleterious effects, and it's just not optimal. So I chose to go with 500 so that the relative increase of drug when I get back on will be lower. And this will be enough to offset the catabolic stimulus of the aggressive diet. So that's my logic there. Anything else? Let me see if I can go to my photos, my photo comparison. That's not much else. Oh, yeah, let's go to photo comparison, then I'll show you my food. Doesn't really matter, I guess, but kind of show you all the stuff I collected. This is my old data collection sheet that has like 1,000 diets in it. All right, let's scroll down since April. Take a second for all these to populate. It's essentially all my check-in photos with myself. And here we go. Almost there. Okay, so here is last week. Definitely look at the quads, waistline. You can look in here as well, and then hamstrings for sure. So if you look here, you look at the quads, definitely more dug out. Waistline's a little bit tighter. Definitely more definition right in here. The hamstrings a little bit as well. Calves a little bit as well. Hamstrings here, it shows better in the other photo as well. And some of the back a little bit too. And at the same time, I'm going to be getting more depleted. I'm going to be getting lower in glycogen. So, it's hard to compare. You got to compare pre and post mini cut, but I just wanted to show that. Let me see if I can pull up this there. Here we go. Here are some comparisons side by side. Definitely look right here. Look here. lower back in general, hamstrings a little bit right here. See that? A little more dug out, in the calf as well. And then here, a little more dug out in the midsection, right here in the glute ham as well. A little more dug out, a little more definition in the arm and shoulder. So yeah, that's definitely a significant difference. So based on the weight and body changes, I think I'm right on track. So the end of the day, you want to stick with your predicted deficit. I was playing around with like maybe bringing the calories down lower. Here, I'll show you what I did there. Just because I thought I wasn't like really on track, but I don't know, man. I think I'm just getting in my own head. Just because I think that that weight that I had, the Monday to Monday was kind of bugging me, I guess. That relative change, the average change is good, but just the fact that like from Monday I weighed 250 and then here I weighed 248 and I dropped a lot here, probably more water, concerned me a little bit. But I'm going to see how tomorrow and the next day go, and then maybe I will make a decrease. Here are the macros I've been following. I had a structured meal plan and I just decided to go with the macros because it's just been nice to be able to kind of get in a groove as far as my diet and find what times I'm most hungry and least hungry, because it changes. So maybe I will go to a structured plan, but I'm eating mostly nutritious foods that I have a certain quota that I try to meet. So I'll show you that in a sec. So goal is 2,700 calories. I try to make my macro go a little bit lower than that just for variance, and I like some sugar-free beverages as well, and they may have some trace calories, so trying to be a little more conservative there. So yeah, that was my goal, is 270 protein, 250 carb, 60 fat, and I had a pretty good compliance with that. The compliance to calories is 98, compliance to protein is 95, so pretty close there. It's my rest day right here, and then this is today. And then, like, this is, for example, what I had today. Some cream that went into coffee, oatmeal, and whey for breakfast. So I wanted something quick out the door. And then I've been having potatoes post-workout, boiled potatoes post-workout, and my last 2 meals. So I don't have any carbs midday just because I'm not hungry, and I get really hungry towards the end of the night. This protein shake was in my coffee, just a small amount. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to hit my micro goals as well. And here you can see I did that pretty well. Omega-3s are supplemented. Magnesium is supplemented. Calcium, it's not supplemented. I probably could get that a little higher, probably add in a little more dairy. Sodium is supplemented. What else? Iodine is supplemented as well. Vitamin D is supplemented as well. Vitamin K. I haven't inputted a lot of my dark leafy greens, so I'm probably there as well. So definitely pretty complete diet, and that's how I like it. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there's not much adjustments to be had, really. You just write out this deficit. If I'm not dropping like I probably should troubleshoot a little more, check my food sources. Some of the beef that I'm using might not be as lean as Chronometer has it, so I might just try a day where I just do chicken and just see what happens, and then maybe troubleshoot from there, go for a 96.4 out of the store, because right now I'm draining and blotting my ground beef, and that's what I have been doing to keep the fat lower. When you think about it, if you heat up saturated fat and you drain it off, it definitely gets rid of a lot of the fat. So I'll give an update next week. I'll hopefully have my blood work by then, and I'll go over that and review that, and might make some changes. But at the end of the day, you make with a mini cut, you calculate your deficit and you just write it out, because there's other things that can affect that number, and you won't really know until week 3, and week 3 is my last week. So some small modifications that can be made. As long as I end up around 240, 242, I'll be happy. And as long as the visuals keep changing as well, I'll be happy. As I mentioned, I don't have as much water retention as I used to because of stack modulation and using telmisartan as well, which lowers the angiotensin level, which will lower, a lot of the reason for bodybuilders having extra water retention is angiotensin, and telmisartan acts on that. So, that's pretty much it. I hope you derive some value from this video, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I will do the full write-up for my website, and that will be linked down below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on my website, then it's just right below. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next week.